brand new game mode just released for Dungeon Heroes called the Gauntlet, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to clear the hardest difficulty very easily. So let's begin. Now the skills that you want to be using for the Gauntlet is Fireball and Icy Blast, and for the other two you can run whatever you want. But make sure that you have at least Icy Blast and Fireball and that you're running a good magical weapon. And if you so happen to not have a good magical weapon, the physical replacement of Fireball and Icy Blast would be Blade Storm and Titan's Grasp. So as long as you're running either of these four, you'll be good to go for the Gauntlet. Now for the armor, you want to make sure you just have movement speed. It doesn't matter what armor you use, just make sure you have a lot of movement speed. As you can see, I have majority movement speed and a couple mythic ones, so I'm extremely fast and not really able to be hit easily. Now for the pet you want to use, you just want to make sure that you use a pet that is not too big. So Sea Serpent, do not use that. Do not use any other dragons. The dragons are terrible for the Gauntlet. But Anpu, Abu, and Flint are the best pets for this Gauntlet, I would say at least. Flint is the best pet in the game overall, so I would recommend using him for the Gauntlet. So now I'm just going to queue up a solo extreme and show you guys how to go through every single wave. Also, I'm going to be explaining a little bit on how you get the most marks possible. Now, you're not always going to make the best choice, and it's kind of RNG in some aspects, but most of the time you should be getting more than 250 if you're choosing the right options, which I will show when we actually get them. So the first step is to actually let the enemies come to you. I know a lot of times people like to run towards the enemies and kill them, but the fastest way to get all the enemies in one spot and just do all the damage at one time is to let them come to you. Also, their pathfinding is very bad. So if you, let's say I was all the way over there, the pets would get stuck on the little wooden walls. And you don't want that because it would just take longer to clear the waves. So just stay in the middle, run in a circle, make sure that they're all coming to you. You can spam dodge, and when there's a good group, you can just use Fireball, and you can just use Icy Blast. This is why I was talking about not only using, but making sure that you have Fireball and Icy Blast. Because both of those abilities do not require you to stand still. So they are the two best abilities, I would say, in my opinion, to use for the Gauntlet. So right now I'm just going to clear this wave, and then we're going to get to the point selections. Wave 1 is pretty easy, so there's nothing really to show here. So we just completed the wave, and now we have increased the chance of all enemies dropping marks, increase the chance of all enemies dropping mark again, and we have earn +5. Now the best one here would be increased chance of all enemies dropping marks. 30% more enemies will spawn, and that's only earn 5. If that was earn 10, I would call it better. But I actually think it's more worth to take a chance and gain more than 5 for the wave. If 30% more enemies spawn and the chances are increased to drop marks from enemies, then you can take that gamble if you want. I personally think... Oh wait, I am lagging. Okay. In my opinion, I think it's better to take the chance that you get marks from dropped enemies, from dead enemies, because you are most likely going to get more than 5, and if you get more than 5, then it's going to be better than choosing the meteorite strikes. And since enemies have a chance to drop marks regardless if you choose the increased chance or not, you're definitely raising your chances to get more than 5 enemy dropped marks per wave. So again, it's a pretty easy wave right now. Just keep running in circles. Press dodge, use your Icy Blast into your Fireball, or Fireball into Icy Blast, doesn't matter which one. But just always remember to keep moving. Anytime you stop moving, you can get instantly killed, especially if you're choosing enemies do more damage modifiers. And most of the times you have to choose that. But now we are at the end of this wave. Now I'm automatically going to go to the 10+ marks because elites don't really spawn that much. So any elite buff is just not going to be worth it more than a +10. So here's wave 3. There's a lot more ranged enemies to deal with. So just make sure that you're always moving. Like I said, this wave is not necessarily hard unless you're standing still for way too long. Because the spears do a lot of damage, and skeletons with the guns also do a lot of damage. So yeah, always make sure you're moving. That's the point of running Icy Blast and Fireball. Now I like using consecutive lightning because it's still a good ability. Also, it doesn't require you to stop moving, so if you want to use it, you can, but if you see another ability useful, you can use it as well. I don't think consecutive lightning is required at all to complete this. But it's just a plus, you know? Makes the waves a little bit faster. All right, so now we have +5, +5. Elites have a higher chance. Okay, so we're definitely going to go for a +5. And we're going to do meteors because we don't want to make the elites stronger than they have to be. Wave 4 is not that difficult either. You just need to make sure that you don't get hit by the Perfect Priests because they do still do a lot of damage regardless of your level. They probably do like % damage, that's why. But yeah, these guys do a lot of damage. So as always, make sure you're moving. But this wave is pretty easy overall. +5 marks. Okay, so we're automatically going to get the +10. Even though it is a very dangerous modifier, it doubles the chance of elite spawning. Actually, no, I'm thinking of a different one. Yeah, this one is not too dangerous. So it's a pretty safe modifier and it gives you +10 after each wave. So it's pretty good. So now we have wave 5. Now wave 5 is where your movement speed on your armor is going to come into play. Because these jaguars move faster than you, like at all times. So if you don't have movement speed, it might be a chance of you dying, like dying very easily as well. And they have like kind of a huge hitbox. So the movement speed is definitely important here. Also, I think that wave 5 is the first hard wave in the game. Wave 1 through 4, I don't think are necessarily hard, but wave 5 is when it actually gets like difficult, when you need to like pay attention to where you're rolling and stuff. Because getting hit by a stray range attack can be the end of your life. Even though you have 5 lives, they can definitely be removed very easily. And especially if you're rounding them up like this, if you die, you spawn in the middle, and there's no invincibility when you spawn in this game. So when you die, it could have a snowball effect. But it's fine, because you should not be dying if you're following to what I'm saying. Coming up on the end of the wave now, from wave 5 and up, is like considered hard, at least in my opinion. We're gonna get the earn +5 marks because it is better than having elites dropping a higher chance and movement speed. Realistically, you should never be selecting the increased movement speed when you collect the mark, because that one is completely useless. So for this wave, the birds are also faster than you. So you have to wait for a bunch of them to come in a circle. I don't recommend like attacking yet, but you can if you want. I just like to round them all up so that I can get like a straight line hit between all of them. Also, I would say that your pet after wave 4 doesn't really do anything anymore because it's so easy to die and there's so many hitboxes on the ground. And since every healing ability requires you to stand still, you kind of need to like not use it. Because if I stood still even for a moment right now, you see all the circles following me, I would die instantly. So this is where the movement speed is actually important. I can run Icy Blast since it collects. I can damage the whole squad in the middle right here, and it does damage over time. Unfortunately, Fireball does not do damage over time. If it did, this would be way better, but we're still going through it pretty fast. All right, we're coming up on the end of this wave here. See, it's not hard at all. I think like every difficulty of the Gauntlet is extremely easy. You just need to play it correctly, which is what I'm teaching you to do in this video. So elites have a higher chance. Okay, so this one is dangerous. Elite mobs spawn on every wave, but it does give elites a high chance of dropping marks. Now I'm choosing the options that would maximize the marks I would get. So now there's going to be a bunch of elites that spawn, but we're just going to do the same thing that we did the last wave. And honestly, even though these enemies move much slower than the last wave, I think these enemies are way more dangerous than the birds. The birds and the genies have nothing on the crocodiles. The crocodiles will delete your HP bar, just for fun. So right now you see we're at 147 marks, which means we're probably going to finish at like 250 something. Maybe, I'm not sure. It just depends on how many drops we get from these elites and from the regular enemies. It is definitely going to be lag when you're doing all of this. But just make sure your graphics quality is down if you don't want to deal with that. Well, I don't know what just happened there, but the entire crowd just got deleted. Maybe my pet somehow got an attack off, but that was crazy. The main threat for this wave are the sand crocodiles, since they literally teleport on top of you. So just make sure you're moving in a circle, not going backwards at all, so that you don't run into any circles that are chasing you. You should be completely fine. We're just going to choose the enemies having increased drops across the board. Enemies doing more damage is nothing because we are not getting hit anyways. So now this wave is even more dangerous than the last wave, surprisingly. These goats do a bunch of damage and they slow you down. Wait for all of them to come to you. Stay in the middle so nobody gets stuck. Your pet is gonna die. Your pet will not be able to do anything without dying because there's way too much damage output. Since not many enemies, like, well, basically no enemy heals at all, to the point where they would out heal your frost blast or icy blast, you can just spam it and not have to worry about anything. And you can take your time too. I mean, you don't have to rush this. If you want to play it really safe to not die, you can just play it really safe to not die. Shoot a little bit of primaries. But yeah, that little amount of time I just sat still to shoot the primaries, I took half of my damage. So yeah, if that doesn't prove that you need to use these abilities, I don't know what will. You can't stand still even for a second, or else you're just going to get absolutely deleted. Coming up on the end of this wave right now. Now, it doesn't matter what you choose right here because this is the boss wave. The game is not going to select anything because there's no waves after this. And there are 3 bosses that are going to spawn, and the 3 bosses are random. So depending on what boss you think is more dangerous, you should kill that boss first. So we have the snow owl, the sea snake, and the skeleton. So the hardest boss here is the skeleton. So we're going to try to focus the sea serpent, because I think he is the easiest one out of everybody. So I'm just going to focus him, and if the snow owl wants to stand in the way, then I'm also going to do damage to him too. But I don't want to get trapped in here with the skeleton, so I do need to make sure not to get too back in this corner. So yeah, right now I should just hop out of here because he's doing his AoE attack. So yeah, it's going to be very dangerous to stand in that. As fast as I'm moving, it's still not fast enough unless I dodge the skeleton's attacks. That is crazy. So yeah, sea serpent is almost dead. Like I said, he's going to be the easiest one. So let's focus him right quick. For the bosses, you don't want to run in a circle. If you run in a circle, you're going to die. And this is like an extremely big circle. But yeah, sea serpent should be dead. Yep, serpent is dead. Now we're going to focus on the snowy owl. Less than half HP as well. My pet's going to be able to do a lot of damage because the snowy owl was not doing anything. Okay, now we have the hardest boss. Right, this is going to be a ton of damage. Should be dead. Yep, nice. And that is just how you complete it. It's really that easy. This is not difficult at all. And we got 273 marks. But yeah, I don't know why people like queue the hard mode or the medium mode. The entire game mode is very easy if you just do exactly what I did. Like, people just don't know what to run. But this game mode is honestly extremely easy. Let's see how many marks I have. I have over 1,000 marks. Anyways, yeah, that's just how you do it. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. I do cover a multitude of games, and one of them is Dungeon Heroes. So I'm just going to be covering updates and stuff, and builds, and strategies, and new dungeons and stuff. You know the deal. I'll see you all on the next one.